It's just not enough for you to go in and open up a NASA photograph and look at the overexposure, what happens to it. They need more proof. Here's a picture of the ball Earth from Galileo, which is what, 1990 or something like that, when this photo was supposedly taken, when the satellite was like 1 point so many million miles away. And this is the photo they gave us from NASA. You can look it up right there. Galileo Earth, photo PI or PLA 00114. You can look it up. Well, let's go into this thing and let's adjust the exposure and take a look at what happens. You can see supposedly the dark space out here with no stars or nothing. And then when we start to overexpose it, this is what happens. You can see that this image was pasted onto a black background. This is what happens when an image is fake and it's pasted on top of something. It's fake. Okay, I get it. Some people just can't handle seeing NASA images turn out to be fake. When you bring them into Photoshop type software and overexpose the image, you see that it's been pasted onto a black background. Basically, they're creating an image. I don't know how they create it. It could be a painting, it could be a drawing, it could be anything. And then they put a black edge around it to make it nice and spherical. Then they create an Illustrator file with just a black box, and they put that image on top of that black box, and then save it as a JPEG or whatever, and then say it's an image of Earth floating in outer space. And then you take it into the software, you overexpose it, and you see that it's just sitting on top of a black box. It's fake. Now here we got an image of the moon that I downloaded off the internet. You can see these dark areas, which is trees, and then the sky is kind of bluish, it's a dark blue. So let's see what happens when you overexpose this image. Let's see what happens to the black areas where the trees are. And what happens to the moon, the edges of it. You see what happens? This is a real photograph. Every real photograph, when you overexpose it, will have its own identity. But the thing is that the entire photograph is overexposed. Even the black areas. This is a real photograph. This is a photograph that's from International Observe the Moon Night. So let's overexpose this photograph and see what it does. Looks like a real photograph, doesn't it? Well, let's just see. Let's see what happens when you overexpose it. Let's see if everything in the photograph gets overexposed, including the black areas. There you go, my friends. When you overexpose a photograph, this is what happens, if it's real. Imagine that. Page from NASA. Let's do it again. Let's look at the exposure. You see the black background. Now, there's got to be stars out there. So when you overexpose it, you should see them. But you don't. What you see is a fake image. It's been pasted on a black background. There's no stars. It's fake.
Hi, hope you're doing well. I just got Photoshop, and I've seen this a couple times, and I want to try it for myself. That they say that if you change the exposure on some of the NASA and other space agencies' photographs, that you can see that they've been faked. Let's start off, and it actually isn't true. So it's a trip. So this is a real photo of a nightscape, and here it is. So let's go into Photoshop just to show you what a photo really looks like, and just adjust the exposure, and you can kind of see boxes in it and show that it is overlaid, and it proves that it is a phony. So take a look at this. So this is the nightscape, okay? Go to adjustments, exposure, and then when you hit the exposure up, kind of washes it out like you would expect a photo to wash out, right? We've all done that, taken out a photograph early from the camera, and the film overexposes and washes out like that. Okay, from overhead, there's the moon, clouds, and Photoshop. Where is it? One more of these. And go to adjustments, exposure. Okay, same thing, washes it out. Okay, those are real photographs. Now, check this out. This is people.com. This is a recent photo that NASA put out of the Artemis 1 that did a lap around the moon, allegedly. And this is it. Look at these fancy rocket blasters that don't have any soot or any deterioration from the massive thrust that was coming off of them. You know, just perfect shape. But, you know, I don't know who took this picture and got this perfect shot, because if you notice, there's never a satellite that flies off like the Voyager 1 and all this. They've never taken a good photograph of the Earth, like an actual photograph. If you look at the actual photographs of Earth, they do not exist. They are all computer-generated images, proved and explained thoroughly by NASA themselves. So if you haven't seen that, please take a look at it. But there are no actual, snapshot photographs of Earth. They are all computer-generated images, and they say they stitched together photos to create it because Earth is too big, and then now here it is, and there it is. So, all right, so this is from people.com, but they get it from NASA. And let's take this one. I mean, I'm actually kind of blown away this actually works. You'd think they'd be able to somehow get around this. Okay, check this out. Adjustments, exposure, and just bring it up. Look at this. See? Isn't that amazing? This thing just went out like last week or something, allegedly out there. But there it is. That's the exposure on this thing. This is, again, people.com. This is a photograph given to People magazine from NASA. I mean, I really can't even believe that they're not better at faking these images with all of the millions of dollars they get every day. They can't learn how to fake the CGI better. I honestly just don't think they care, because they're mocking us in plain sight. So that people like me, when I try to explain it, you'll say, it couldn't be that easy. They would do a better job. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? This is a NASA photograph. Think about that compared to those other real nightscapes. And first of all, let's look at the image itself. They always call them images. They'll never call it a photograph when it's supposed to be, in fact, a photograph. You know? But this already looks completely fake. I mean, it's so lame. You got this magic ball out here. That's us. We must be right over here. I'm kind of near the coast. Right? And this is this little grainy stuff. You can see lines. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see lines. Look at that. Did they rake the sand or something? This is an actual NASA photograph, supposedly. Look at that line. Look at that line. Look at that line. I think Buzz Aldrin must have been out there raking the sand trap when they were playing golf, right? So one more time. This is the same photo. And whoa-bam. I mean, it's fake. It's fake. Another proved shenanigan. These guys. Anybody's believing this stuff? Come on, man. You can't go on believing this stuff. So take it easy.